get into one of my cars, you get in the win.
I'm Chris Sasaki, Creative Director for Forza Motorsports. We are bringing new racing dynamics, visual fidelity, and gameplay detail to every track. This includes weather, 24-hour day-night cycles, and track evolution. More tracks are coming to Forza Motorsport after our launch on October 10th, including past favorites and brand new challenges to keep the competition fresh and exciting. We can't wait to share more. See you at the starting line.
Hi, I'm Ryan Blaney, a third-generation race car driver, and we dedicate a lot of our time to going as fast as possible. But when my grandpa was diagnosed with Alzheimer's, it was a very unexpected bump in the road for us. It's important to notice if older family members are acting differently, experiencing problems with their memory, or having trouble with routine tasks. Early detection of Alzheimer's can give your family time to explore support services, make a plan for the future, and access available treatments. If you or your family are noticing changes, it could be Alzheimer's. Talk about seeing a doctor together.
Hey guys, this is Matt Hagan, three-time Funny Car World Champion, and you're watching Drafting the Circus.
And the Singapore Grand Prix is go! Good launch off the line by the P3 man. Charles Leclerc is trying to take second place. Carlos Sainz holds the lead. Charles Leclerc does take second place. And Lewis Hamilton is all over the road. He had got past Lando Norris, but he rejoins. Does Norris get back ahead of him? That's the question. No, Hamilton takes that third place on the road. Does he give the position to his teammate? The two Mercedes side by side. It's a Ferrari 1-2 at Marina Bay. George Russell will want that place back. Hamilton was all over the road as the sparks fly as they make their way down to turn number 5. Does Hamilton give the position back? Can he keep him behind? There's a late lunge by Nico Hülkenberg to the inside. It's a Ferrari 1-2 out front, David.
Yeah, but Hamilton's going to have to give that place back. He's gained an advantage.
So you got to let me back pass, or?
They've swapped back the Mercedes. George Russell's gone through and up to third position, so they've been on the radio, and there is the switch. Lando Norris now in 4th place, and Hamilton back to where he started the race in P5. Further back in the pack, we're on board with Oscar Piastri, and that is the contact that has cost the AlphaTauri there. And we did see Yuki Tsunoda a few moments later become our first retirement from the Grand Prix.
Yeah, Perez just Perez, honestly.
Logan Sargent off the road, and the American driver who is fighting for a contract to next year hits the wall, and then a major intervention, DC, a full safety car deployed. Well, into the pits we come. This is a moment that could change the race. And is there a opportunity? First of all, in comes Carlos Sainz. Was the second Ferrari in as well in the background? Yes, it
Driving
was.
slowly. Yeah, you can see he hung back there, forcing the Mercedes to have to drive slowly as well. So this could benefit the McLaren, actually.
Okay, so everyone is making their way in, and did Sainz get out ahead of Max Verstappen there?
Verstappen didn't manage to take the lead, so all of that strategy has gone out of the window for Max. He didn't pit, he still has to, and he doesn't have clear air. That's huge.
This is Alonso coming into the pits.
Look at the damage. Has he got some damage?
He's gone over. That'll be 5 seconds. This is Charles Leclerc's slow stop for Ferrari.
What happened there?
We had to hold you for traffic.
Yeah, Hamilton crawled into his box because he couldn't get in, because Russell was there.
And it's Sainz, Verstappen, Russell, then Perez and Norris. Verstappen and Perez are expected to be a lot slower in this initial phase than the cars around them. Good run now for George Russell. Russell's all over the road. Does he get a nose to the inside? Brilliant pictures of 2 overtakes at the same time. Russell gets past Verstappen, and also going through is Lando Norris. Lewis Hamilton was very close to Perez, and he's not able to get by, but Russell is up to 2nd. Norris is up to 4th. There is Lando Norris taking the position away from Max Verstappen and improving to the podium places. It's Sainz, then Russell, then Norris, as Max Verstappen drops to 4th.
Lewis Hamilton comes on Verstappen puts up no defence He has resigned himself.
Through goes Lewis Hamilton, and he takes 4th position. Verstappen knows that it's about extending the stint now. Fernando Alonso to the inside of Sergio Perez and taking the position away. There's still a little bit of traction left for Perez. 3 into 1 corner, will not go. Round the outside goes Esteban Ocon, side by side with Fernando Alonso, who's wide at this part of the circuit, and somehow they're in the same order that they left. Oh no, they're not, because here comes the Alpine. Better traction, and that will be the position. Fernando Alonso refuses to give it up, but he'll have to, and Ocon moves up to 8th. A record-breaking run of 10 Grand Prix victories in a row, and you have to celebrate it when you're in the form like that, because things can easily change in Formula One. It is Ferrari, then Mercedes, then McLaren out front, and Max Verstappen is down in 15th position. Great drive will go unrewarded for Esteban Ocon, who is pulling off some fine moves there, and he will park up. He's out.
No!
He hit the curb coming out of the last corner, and then it's like he's in 6th gear, but he's not driving. So is that clutch?
And the Mercedes drivers have elected to give up track position at a street circuit and to make moves to try and fight for victory in Singapore. The virtual safety car is ending. It's a slow stop for Aston Martin at the back of the car. The rear jack that was redesigned for the new aerodynamic part at the rear of that car, and the car slipping off the jack as a result. Fighting Joe Granu, who started from the pit lane, the team that is currently Alfa Romeo. There will be Sauber, late send from the world champion, and Max Verstappen fights his way back to the points. And George Russell is close now. He's got an opportunity. This is his first real run on the Ferrari driver ahead. Go to the outside line, says Charles Leclerc, but then it's the up and under attempt from George Russell. This is the traction race we were telling you about. George Russell's got a chance now to win this Grand Prix, because he's fought his way by and he's taken 3rd place. And Lewis Hamilton is the 2nd Mercedes on the charge. Lewis Hamilton fights away by, and the team are fighting their way by to the front of the field now. 3rd and 4th for Mercedes.
Gasly can't turn the car. Now we'll get DRS, and this should be a relative drive-by to the outside. Switch back.
Let's see if he can get by. Gasly will try and hang on to it, but Verstappen's got the better grip. He's got the place, and at turn 14, he is up to 6th.
Lando 0.8 behind, 0.8 with DRS. Russell no DRS. Yeah, it's on purpose. Copy that.
George Russell was able to set up the move before. He's really close this time. Russell having the defensive shake thrown, but now there's an opportunity to stand on the power. The 2 British drivers go wheel to wheel. George Russell trying to fight his way by. Will that be the inside line? No, Norris gets his elbows out, and that could have won the race for Carlos Sainz. Russell knows he needs to try and make the place right now. Hamilton was giving his teammate the hurry up, but Sainz's tactical awareness may well have won him this Grand Prix on the 62nd and last lap. He's got a great advantage now. The charging Mercedes might be denied, but look at the top 4 on this last lap, nearly glued together.
Yeah, they're still fighting on, but there's only 1 more DRS zone left. And Russell, if he wants to win, needs to make 2 positions. So has Sainz now done enough? Can he get away from Norris? That's the next question. Lando's still pushing for the win. Russell's off!
George Russell into the wall and out of the race. The British driver who was charging for victory is out on the last lap, and he's in the Tech Pro.
On board, final lap. And you see Norris there with the right rear and Russell with the right front. He did take out quite a bite of that wall with the right rear. Opens up that corner and the wall just juts out slightly, and that was George.
George Russell, who was dreaming of a 2nd career victory, but it's heading to this man instead. Formula One at its absolute finest. Carlos Sainz, tactical brilliance. Carlos Sainz, the winner of the Singapore Grand Prix. Lando Norris in 2nd place, and a charging drive from Lewis Hamilton puts him on the podium once again in Formula One. And it's side by side across the line. Leclerc hung on by 0.2 of a second. Ferrari's first victory since Austria last year. Red Bull's perfect season ends at Grand Prix 15. Their phenomenal winning run is over, ended by Ferrari's Carlos Sainz. Lando Norris matches his personal best in Formula One with 2nd, and Lewis Hamilton at charging 3rd for his 196th podium. Start your
Good evening, race fans. Welcome to the Hoobazoo Radio Network, and welcome to the Drafting the Circuits program, produced by Sinister One Productions. My name is Frank Santoroski. I'll be your host for the next hour as we talk about this past weekend of racing and preview next week for you. Joining me in the studio, Louise, Torres, and Lee Vi. Fellas, how we doing?
Doing good.
All right, and Louise?
It's going well.
All right, haven't seen you in a while. I know you've been busy, but really good to have you back. Really looking forward to speaking with you tonight some, going over these races. First off, hats off to the sponsors, the Ferrari film, Forza Motorsports, Xbox, Alzheimer's Association, and Luis Torres Multimedia. Now, Richard Uden off on assignment. He's our usual Formula One correspondent. And every week I've asked the same question, and he's not here to answer it this week. And that question is, did we have a surprise winner in Formula One that wasn't Max? And guess what? We did. And Richard's not here to talk about it. So,
and it was a surprise, I think, that was heard around the world because nobody saw that guy win in that race, but he did.
No, he did. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, they, Sainz, Carlos Sainz in the Ferrari had a great day. He was joined on the podium by Lando Norris in the McLaren and Lewis Hamilton in the Mercedes. So there's not a Red Bull in sight to the podium. Which is really, they broke that streak of them winning every race this year. It's puts to bed the idea that they're going to win out the season. At the end of the day, it was probably one of the most entertaining races of the season, just based on the fact that towards the end of the race there, the top four guys were literally nose to tail fighting and scrapping with one another, where, usually you see the fighting and scrapping and Max Verstappen is 30 seconds ahead of that in the clear, having a quiet day all to himself, listening to a little classical music on his headphones or something, just having a Sunday drive.
Would that be like a scene right out of Talladega Nights?
Yes. Gene Gerard. Yeah,
yes,
absolutely.
Yes, Gene Gerard's a man.
Yep, absolutely. So, and I think one of the funnier things that came out of this race is, the four guys up there, George Russell was right there in the mix. He looked like he was the fastest guy out there towards the end, right? And he went off and hit the wall, but the wall had the lettering that had the word Singapore on it, and of course the middle three letters in Singapore are GAP. And somebody had made a meme that says, and of course he hit right there on the word gap. And, somebody had to point out the old Ayrton Senna saying, if there a gap exists and you no longer go for it, then you're no longer a race car driver. I thought that was very clever, very funny. Won the internet for the day. So Louise, what do you think, man? What happened to Red Bull in Singapore?
I think they would like to know as well. It's fun. I find it amusing that the week all they're talking about is Helmut Marko being a doofus regarding comments about Checo. And then they go into this weekend, they were nowhere near to be found. They couldn't find the speed. They gained spots, but they just couldn't get the job done. They were nowhere near to be found. And with that, like you mentioned, Red Bull won't go undefeated, and Max Verstappen's podium sweep will not happen, leaving Michael Schumacher from 2002 still the only man to be him out the entire campaign.
Yeah.
But Max showed good pace, but I think they were banking on a full-blown safety car when Esteban Ocon decided to his car decided to quit and then stop at the exit of the pit road as they come out to the racing surface. Instead, we had a virtual safety car, which helped the drivers behind Carlos a little bit, but it did no favors to Rebel. That eliminated them from the hunt because had it been a full-blown safety car, they might have had a better chance of fighting for position.
Yeah, they really missed the strategy as well as the setup. So now a lot of speculation going into this weekend that there were some rule changes that went into effect regarding flexible floors, the Flexi-Floors, and some of the flexible parts of the wings. Now, so there's some speculation that some of those teams are allowing those floors to flex a bit more than they should, or they're using them to hide components. Which actually, when the floor flexes enough, it's closer to the ground, which creates more downforce. And a lot of people have speculated that this is probably something Red Bull was doing. And, when they made the changes to be in compliance with the new rule, that's why they're suddenly off. Although Red Bull flatly denies that. They said, we didn't make any changes to the car. They said, we weren't using that cheat code. We got a different one that you haven't found out yet. But so... I mean, Lee, any thoughts on that? I mean, I really wish Richard was here because I throw the technical stuff at him. So.
Yeah, I mean, of course, whether Red Bull did it or not, they're going to deny it. They're not going if they did make changes to the car and that was the outcome. Red Bull's certainly not going to admit that they did make changes and that this was the outcome. That just shows weakness, and Red Bull that's just not them. So. They're gonna try to do the old block and pass thing, and but the test will come. I mean, neither Max or Checo really had a great showing at all. I mean, Checo's not had a great showing the whole season, but I'm interested to see what the next race brings, because if they both have a poor outing next race, maybe that'll shed a little bit more light onto it. I mean, everybody has a bad day, and I think that's maybe just what happened with Red Bull. They just missed the mark on everything this weekend.
Yeah, and if they continue to, I mean, it's either Red Bull has just totally missed something, or the other teams have just been steadily improving, and that's definitely a part of it as well. Because I mean, McLaren has certainly much improved from where they started off this season, and I think Ferrari's always had a pretty fast car. But I think they're getting better at things like strategy calls and those sort of things there, and hitting the qualifying laps right.
Yep, and I mean, Sykes led this. I think he might have led this from start to finish, if I remember right. I mean, he was right up front.
He lost it on pit stop cycles once or twice, but for the most part, he was up front all day.
Yeah. So I mean, it was a really good showing by Ferrari, and they've been scrapping all season to try to get up there and to stand on top of the podium, and the number one spot is, especially for Carlos, it's a great thing for him, because I mean, beginning of the season, I thought he was going to do pretty good, but he's just kind of missed the mark week after week. But he found it this weekend, that's for sure.
Yeah, he seems to have been, kind of overshadowed by his teammate Charles Leclerc, for the better part of, all last season and this season. So really good for him to go ahead and grab that pole and that win. And, I'm just, hoping that this chink in Red Bull's armor opens the door to us seeing a few more winners this year. I mean, we still have several races left, Formula One runs a long season, but I mean, Lando Norris is right there chomping at the bit. Hamilton and George Russell are right there chomping at the bit. Leclerc could certainly sneak a win in there. So it'll be interesting to see how the rest of the season plays out. It's either going to play out a bit like that, or we're going to go right back to Max winning the rest of the races. That'll be the litmus test of what happens in Suzuka. If then we'll know what Red Bull was or wasn't doing.
Yeah, and I think that I mean Richard says this all almost week after week. These are the top 0.5% drivers in the world. They're the best of the best, and nothing holds true than this weekend, because we saw some of the best racing all season. It was great. It was there was tight. Everybody was tight. There was good passing. I mean, there was a couple turns there. There was there was 3 guys fighting for position, and they were side by side. So it really does. It's a testament to what Richard says. I mean, these guys are the best drivers that in the world, and they really showed what they're made of this weekend. And I thought it was a really good race. So yeah, I mean, it's nice to see Max not on the top of the podium, but we'll see what happens next race and if they bounce back.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Louise, so our buddy Lance Stroll had a little incident in practice qualifying and got an injury that put him out for Sunday. Do you remember who they put in the car?
They put nobody in the car because it took place at qualifying. And
okay, yeah, that's what I was thinking. They ran with just 19 cars on the grid. So Stroll expected to be back in Suzuka. The team owners there said they don't see anything really that would prevent him from coming back. He just wasn't feeling 100% on Sunday. So, and when it comes to any kind of injury, always, best to err on the side of caution and not injure yourself further. So, not having Stroll in the race would make a big impact one way or the other.
It's the best thing for him is he let go of that steering wheel, knowing that it was not gonna correct itself back. Compared to Ricciardo, who was trying to avoid a stricken car, but he did not let go of the steering wheel. It's all circumstantial, but the best advantage for Stroll is he let go of that steering wheel. That's probably saved him the rest of the season, to be honest with you.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, because that, like I said, that'll snap your wrist or break a metatarsal in a second. So just ask Ricciardo. We're asking a number of guys who've had that similar injury there. So AlphaTauri has announced that they are going to retain both Daniel Ricciardo and Yuki Tsunoda for next year, which puts the future of their reserve driver who's been filling in for Ricciardo.
Liam Lawson.
Liam Lawson, yeah. And it puts his future in question because he's done a decent job in the car. He's not been embarrassing himself, and so we kind of hope there's a spot for him.
Yeah, he is the guy that knocked Verstappen out of Q3, and he capitalized it by getting 2 points for AlphaTauri. So now, for the first time all season, the constructor had more points than its number of drivers, 5-4.
There you go. Look at that.
Because going into the race, AlphaTauri had 3 points. They've had 4 drivers. Now they have 5 points with 4 drivers. With, of course, the lone goose the lone goose egg out of the whole ordeal so far is Ricciardo and De Vries, who have none.
And De Vries is in the unemployment line.
Yeah, but now he's going to do some WEC stuff for Toyota, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, so we're off to Suzuka. Do we have a week off in between, or are we heading straight to Suzuka?
We're in Suzuka, so
yeah, so
late Thursday night practice.
So yeah, I read a comment today on a Formula One group, and it just made me laugh. And this guy said that Suzuka should be a night race because people in the United Kingdom have to wake up at the ungodly hour of 6 a.m. on a Sunday to watch the race.
Oh, come on. Look, ask about us.
Yeah, but then he goes on to say, and this is why. He said the first Formula One race was held in Europe. The bulk of the teams are based in Europe. He said the bulk of the fan base is based in Europe. They should cater to and I'm like, dude, it's a great big world out there and it doesn't revolve around you, but it made me laugh to read that because this guy was dead friggin' serious. Listen out his reasons as why all of the Formula One races should have a start time that's convenient to let Europeans sleep in on Sunday, So, I mean, good God.
They've been going to Japan for nearly half a century.
I'm glad this man doesn't live in Australia,
Yeah.
So, but, yeah, so what do you think, man? So we've been picking second to Max all year long. But we could, maybe now that the streak is broken, maybe we could just say, hey, pick a winner. And you can pick Max if you like, but who do you like, Lee?
I picked him last week in Podium. I'm going to pick him again this week. I think Lando Norris is having one heck of a run here, and I think he's, he may not get that top spot, but he's on the podium for this next race. I'm sure of it.
All right, fantastic. And Louise?
I think we're gonna probably get back to normal, but I think it's gonna be yeah, it's gonna be back to normal. And mind you, I heard nothing about Max going into Suzuka with a possibility of clinching the championship. So you can look at it as this championship is much closer than last year, even though it's all but a lock that Max will win it at some point in the next few weeks. Just not this Sunday or Saturday night in my case.
So you're picking Max?
Yeah.
Okay, so that leaves me to say Lewis Hamilton, because this guy has been winless for nearly 2 full seasons, and I know that doesn't sit well with him and his fan base. So good luck to Lewis, good luck to Max, good luck to Lando Norris next week in Suzuka. The only other Formula One story I have here is going to segue into our NASCAR segment here, and it involves Danica Patrick, who works for Sky Sports, right? So evidently she's in some hot water with Sky Sports based on a variety of things that she's doing on her own podcast, right? And the most recent one, the one that's really drawing a lot of criticism, is that she really underplayed the role of females in motorsport, right? Because somebody asked her, a viewer or fan asked her if she thought there would ever be a woman in Formula One, and she kind of said no, that women lack the competitive spirit and the strength. And I'm like, okay, Danica, what are you saying? You drove against the boys for years, and so people are really upset with her about that. But then there's been a couple of other things, like she had one of her guests was a climate change denier, that highly touted, and this is while Formula One is making all the efforts to go green, right? And then she had a whole show where the discussion was, are extraterrestrials manipulating human DNA to extend the lifespan of humans, right? Which okay, I get it, Danica, you're into some funky stuff, but I think maybe Sky Sports has had about enough of that. So, and then of course, she's under fire one more time for a scathing remark she made towards Martin Truex. And so to set that up, we'll go into our NASCAR segment where the lead story is the very, very sad news that Sherry Pollex, who was the longtime girlfriend and companion of Martin Truex Jr., passed away. She'd been fighting ovarian cancer for a number of years. She's been very vocal. She's been very strong. Her and Martin both have done a lot to raise money and raise awareness through the Martin Truex Foundation. But unfortunately, she lost that battle 44 years old. She was well liked in the paddock. She was known as a very strong woman, and she'll be sorely missed. For whatever reason, her and Martin had broken up as a couple earlier this year, right? And now I don't know what happened there. That's not my business. Not every relationship works out, but by most accounts, they still supported one another and remain friends. And he's still, going strong with the Martin Truex Foundation for cancer research. So he released a statement, which it looks like it was written by a PR person, right? It was a little cold, a little disconnected. It kind of lacked the passion that you might expect from somebody who lost somebody that was that close to for that long. Okay. But again, the guy is grieving. People grieve in different ways, right? So Danica put it upon herself to, cut and paste his comment and said, boy, if this isn't the coldest, shittiest thing I've ever heard anybody say, coming from a guy I didn't like anyway, coming from a guy I never liked in the first place. And she said, I'll guarantee some PR guy wrote this, which is probably true, right? But man, I mean, maybe this statement was a little disconnected or cold or not personal enough, right? And I'm quite certain it's probably written by a PR person there, right? Well, for Danica to throw that out there and say, "Oh, this is from a guy I never liked anyway," when he's grieving somebody he's been close to for the better part of a decade. Yeah, I mean, So she's under fire for that. So I don't know. So, I mean, Lee, what are your thoughts on Danica Patrick or Sherry Pollex or Martin Truex?
The thing about Danica, as I've heard nothing about her being released yet.
No, people are calling for her head on a silver platter.
Yeah, it's like some people fell for that NASCAR thing on Twitter from a unreliable and erroneous.
I was a site that actually labels itself as a parody site. Yeah.
It's just I want to make that very clear for those wondering about the whole ordeal. The thing about Danica, the only thing I've got to say is whether it's her or Aaron Rodgers, what happened to you? What happened to X, Y, and Z that led her to kind of go to this odd position where she is right now? It's either her own doing or Aaron Rodgers or somebody else, but it has not been a good few days if you're Danica, in my opinion. It's just one of those deals where, yes, it could be that. It could be a PR move, but there's a place for it, and now it's not to just make it about you, period.
Yeah, absolutely. And still, I'm just still appalled about her comments about women in motorsport. You know what I mean? If Pippa Mann was anywhere close, she'd smack her. You know what I mean? So I tell you,
it's just it's odd to hear that those words come from Danica, because I mean she's been such a. I hate to even say it but she's really been the face of female embodiment in motorsport.
Absolutely, yeah.
And to hear her say
that, and a role model for young girls that want to race.
So many people. I mean, not even. I mean, young girls, yes, but opens the door to just beyond. That demographic. It just. I mean, and to hear her say that, I don't get it. I mean, I know Danica's been through a lot the past 2 years. She's had a lot of health issues that she's battled through. But it just seems very jaded coming from her to say stuff like that, and then to turn around and say stuff about Martin and how her friendship with Martin and how he was so cold-blooded. Like Louis said it perfect. It's the world. Whatever she thinks the world is revolving around her, she needs to just stop. Because it doesn't. I appreciate everything she's done for everybody in motorsports, including women and minorities, but it's just enough. Knock it off.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to have your podcast where you host crazy conspiracy theorists, go ahead and do that, right? But maybe step back away from Sky Sports, because she does. To Richard and I were talking earlier today. She does kind of fill a valuable spot for them. Kind of being a familiar face for U.S. viewers, because the Sky, the Sky Sports feed is what's piped through ESPN. So, and that's while we're trying to just capitalize on the growing fan base of Formula One in America. That's she really lends a hand there. But when she goes, to this crazy shit on the outside, I don't know what to tell you. So, So, but I guess at the end of the day, Sherry Pollex will be sorely missed.
She will.
This is absolutely devastating, to a lot of folks there, because she's done so much to raise awareness. And just even recently, she was at an event, or there was an event held that she was actually something cancer on the catwalk or something, or but she wasn't able to attend. But I believe she made a video screen appearance and got a standing ovation. That's how much people think of her. So she'll be sorely missed, and our thoughts are with her and her family. Her father, of course, was a car owner in NASCAR for a number of years, which is why she was hanging around at the track and met a race car driver to fall in love with. So all right, so let's move on from the off-track stuff and talk about the on-track stuff. So elimination round, and Louise, you gonna have to change your background?
Yeah, we're gonna have a different background for the championship 4, even though mostly this shot is because it looks nice and aesthetic more than anything else.
Yeah, it is a good shot.
It's a really good picture.
It's a really good picture. Yeah,
but I just cannot fathom the fact that Logano, pretty much minding his own P's and Q's, get wiped out by Corey LaJoie. Or you have that at Bristol every so often. Somebody loses control at the exit of 4, and they come back across the track at turn number entry of 1. and you wipe another driver. We've seen it before. Like Kyle Petty got hurt because of it. JJ Yaley and Martin Truex Jr. had that ordeal several years ago. It's just one of those things that's just bad timing for Logano, and that cost him his entire playoff run. For the first time since the implementation of eliminations, the reigning champion did not make it to the round of 12.
Yep. And so that's a two-time champion out of the playoffs, as well as another champion, Kevin Harvick, missed the playoffs. But Harvick was down there, really close to the cut line all season long. Logano is surprising. Logano knocked out. He was kind of mid-pack, but we haven't barely getting a finish out of Bristol. The other two guys that are eliminated from the playoffs are Ricky Stenhouse and Michael McDowell, and those are those were last couple of guys at the bottom of the list. Anyway,
Stenhouse was all a mile away with Stenhouse.
Stenhouse, yeah. I mean,
McDowell at least tried. Well,
I still
Bristol's
don't
one
understand.
of his better tracks.
I still can't figure out mathematically how Stenhouse made it in there to begin with, but
because he won the Daytona 500.
That's again, I don't know how mathematically he won because he shouldn't have won that race either. But
no, but he did, and I
know.
I was as thrilled as anybody to say,
I know,
come on the show that week and say, oh, by the way, guess
Ricky Stenhouse won.
I mean, there's very few drivers that I could categorically say I'm just not a fan. But Ricky's one of them. I don't ask me why. He's never done anything personally to me, but he just doesn't do it for me. I'm sorry, so.
Well, maybe him and Danica can get back together and they can go do their own thing again. Who knows?
The race at the Brickyard was classic Stenhouse. It's just he has those few races that just annoys a lot of people, like Daytona 18. If you ask any foreign that day, Kamui Kobayashi fans, I'm pretty sure they don't like Stenhouse.
Yeah, Stenhouse on a mission to take out all the ringers, right?
Yeah, that was not pleasant. It is. At least McDowell has shown momentum.
Yeah. I like McDowell. I think he's a decently good driver. He grabs these wins every now and again, and
he's a humble race car driver. He's not,
he's just a good dude. He just really is.
He reminds me a lot of like Carl Edwards. He gets out of the car and it's golly gee whiz, fellas. I'm so glad we won. And I gotta thank the team and the sponsors and the fan. I mean, he's just a good-hearted guy.
Yeah.
Carl Edwards did the same thing every week. Thanks, fellas. I appreciate. He just.
Yeah, did Carl Edwards? He used to do the backflips too.
Yeah, he did
off the roof of the car, which was pretty cool. That was a good little trick. So, the guys that look like they could have been eliminated, but the escape include Bubba Wallace, who was right there on the cut line, and Martin Truex Jr. just snuck in. He's the last guy. He's in that 12th spot.
Yep.
A lot of the names up there near the top haven't changed. It's the usual suspects. So we're off to is it Texas Motor Speedway next? Yep.
Texas
Motor Speedway. And Texas in the news a little bit. There's some speculation that the IndyCar series may not return to Texas next year, based on some scheduling conflicts.
That would thermal. Is that what I've gathered?
Yeah, putting thermal in there just a little bit. The other thing was, I think the NASCAR race in Austin is going to be close to the IndyCar date, and so I the way I read it, like TMS puts on the race at Circuit of the Americas, right? They produce it or whatever, or whatever they're the promoters for it. So therefore they couldn't have the IndyCar race at Texas on the same day. Then so if they go through next weekend, it puts IndyCars and then NASCAR back-to-back weekends at Texas Motor Speedway, which they don't want to do because you want to have your fans have enough time to save money in between.
And we don't want
race
any
weekends,
of that
right?
nonsense either.
Yep. So and they're saying it might come off a schedule, maybe just for 1 year. I have a feeling if it comes off the schedule, it won't go back. So I would not like to see it come off the schedule. But again, this is just some preliminary talks. Nothing's decided. Nothing's announced. The IndyCar is still trying to put their schedule together.
Which I find absolutely ludicrous at this point. We're late in September. Normally, if I recall, over the last several years, the calendar is usually confirmed days after the season is over.
Absolutely.
The same thing with NASCAR. Both of them are stalling for whatever reason.
Well, I know part of it, Louise, is the Olympics. So during the weeks of the Olympics, NBC will have all of its networks dedicated to Olympic coverage. That being, NBC and CNBC and
USA.
Yeah, which
USA. So they've got
at Nashville.
So both IndyCar and NASCAR have to work around that blackout period where they're not going to be able to have a race on television. So this jumbles up the dates, and that's part of it, Louise. Another part of it is they're trying to see where they're going to get Milwaukee on that IndyCar schedule.
Yeah, which reminds me, I mentioned it briefly. It's like if that's going to be the song, which I understand, and thanks for bringing that up because that makes all sense. That if for at least 1 year have the end of the season late September, early October, but now with Nashville being pretty much mid-September, that's a lock as the finale.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
You either just gotta have to not have those long gaps between races for the start of the IndyCar season. You're gonna probably have to have some of them in early March.
Yeah, you have to compact everything and then leave that long gap for the 3 weeks that the Olympics are going on.
Yeah,
which is July and August.
Yeah, and also all we know is that Nashville's in mid-September, Long Beach is in late April instead of like the second week, like normally have
and
done.
Thermal is sometime after the openers,
a month before Long Beach, roughly.
Month before Long Beach, but it's between St. Pete and Long Beach. And speaking of thermal, if you recall our friend Don Cusick, who was on the show with Stephen Wilson, he is one of the homeowners out there. He's one of the members of Thermal. And literally he helped kind of broker the whole thing. So he is going to try to get a partner team to go ahead and enter Stephen Wilson in that Thermal race. Because right now,
makes sense.
Yeah, right now they're only set for, just the Indy 500. And I believe they're looking at Dreyer Reinbold again. But I think he's trying to either talk Dreyer Reinbold into running at Thermal or finding somebody else that would be willing to help him out there with the team.
Yeah, which would make sense is he's kind of like it's just his home race, literally in his backyard.
It's in his backyard, literally, yeah. So
which would be a good idea, and then we're looking at what now, 29 cars maybe? For
perhaps,
the exhibition race, because there's at least going to be 28 full-time cars if things go well on the Hyunko's end.
Or 27 if things go bad on the Andretti end.
Yeah.
So let's okay, real quick, let's pick a winner for Texas.
Okay, yeah, we're talking about
NASCAR. Yeah, so then we'll transition over to IndyCar because there's some news on that front with Andretti and Honda engine leases and those sort of things.
Yeah, and I'd imagine it would have something to do with the leader circle by chance.
So it has something to do with you need to make a pick for Texas.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. No, I you brought up like Andretti Honda leads. I was thinking circle, but Texas wise,
Texas wise,
let's go with. I'm gonna go with Kyle Larson in this one.
Kyle Larson, okay, and Lee,
Denny Hamlin.
Denny Hamlin, okay.
Yeah, I think he's gonna pull back-to-backers.
Yeah. So plus Richard will be happy with that you picked a Toyota.
I know.
I'm gonna go with. I don't even know. I don't even know who runs good at Texas. Honestly, I'm gonna go with
William Byron. All right, that's your answer.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with William Byron. Yes, absolutely. Yeah, because he's been very good all year long. So that's a pick that doesn't make me sound stupid for picking it.
Yeah.
Unlike if I would have said Ricky Stenhouse. All right. So
or Jimmy Johnson.
Or Carson Hocevar. Which mind you, Carson Hocevar had a career race. He was one spot away of giving the 42 team its first top 10 in over a year and a half.
All right. So Speaking of guys with last names that are hard to spell and pronounce, Shane Van Gisbergen has signed a deal to drive for Trackhouse Racing.
Treehouse Racing.
Trackhouse Racing full-time in 2024. Not a full-time cup entry, but his entry is going to be across all 3 series. They're designing him a schedule to just build his experience in the series, with the thought of him being a full-time cup entry in 25. So he has got the blessing to get out of that last year on his Australian Supercar Championship. He is really looking forward to racing in NASCAR and racing in America, and I'm looking forward to having him here. So
this dude is the real deal Holyfield. Like, this guy can race.
Yes, he can. Yes, he can.
NASCAR fans better be ready, because it's not Chicago is just not a fluke. This guy, I mean, he's going to come in and he's going to turn some heads, and there's going to be some upset fans because he's a foreigner, but don't give a crap. This man can race.
I'm sure he'll be okay in that. I don't think anybody's going to be.
Yeah, it's going to take him a little while to acclimate to ovals.
I agree, but it's not going to take him that long. I really don't think it's going to take him that long.
Yeah, I mean, there's something about him and McLaughlin alike. It's just they're running 2 different disciplines, and I feel like
I was gonna say McLaughlin caught on pretty quick. And when you look at Van Gisbergen, the car he's coming from the car he's going to are a whole lot more similar than the transition that McLaughlin had to make. So and I mean, for his part, McLaughlin figured out the ovals pretty quick.
Yeah, I think Van
had a couple of really good runs, only to have like Joseph Newgarden beat him at the end and say, So
I think SVG is going to catch on quick. Daytona might be a little bit, of a challenge for him, but he's got speed weeks to get through. I think he'll pick up a lot there. The 1.5 miles, I mean, they don't call them cookie cutter courses.
I'm sure SVG will adapt just fine. Look at Travis Pastrana. Even though he had stock cars experience previously, but I mean, he fared way better than Connor Daly.
Yeah.
Obviously, equipment is everything, but still, you know what I mean.
Yeah. So, all right. So that hereby ends our NASCAR segment. Let's talk about IndyCars. Okay. So the big news story coming out of IndyCar is that Chip Ganassi is adding a 5th entry.
I don't know why, if you ask me.
Because Kyffin Simpson dad owns Ridgeline. If you've noticed, several of the races this year, we had Palou and Armstrong running cars in the Ridgeline livery. Yeah. And Ridgeline has been on the Ganassi car since they hired Seb Simpson as a development driver a few years ago. The common theme I'm reading in comments is this guy ready? He's got a season of Indy NXT behind him, or Indy Next. I still don't know how to say it properly.
I think it's Indy Next. I
think you do say that. Next, yeah. I mean, Indy NXT sounds like a type of a car, like an Audi ATT.
Leave the NXT saying it's for wrestling.
NXT is a wrestling thing. Yeah, so this guy hasn't won a race in Indy Next, but he's moving up. And it just, it makes me think of like Devin DeFrancesco all over again. Putting a guy in there who's got some money, or who was the other guy? Who's the guy who drove the K-Line car?
Dalton Kellett for like a couple of years, and now he's done stuff with the company.
Well, the thing was Dalton Kellett had like 9 years in Indy Lights. Still never did anything with it.
To his advantage, if any, is he had like an engineering background, which does come a bit of a long way.
Yeah. So we'll have to see how Simpson does. He's obviously got, a couple of good mentors on that team there between, Dixon, Palou, and then their driver coach, Franchitti. There's a lot of folks saying, really, this is, but how much of that money is Chip going to use to spread around all 5 of his cars? Use the Michael Andretti model, where all the sponsorship money goes into the common fun there, and supports the whole team. So
Yeah.
But of course, now the thing is, Honda says it's maxed out at 17 engine leases, right? So if Ganassi adds a car, that means another one has to go away, right? And we all know that Andretti's 29 entry did not make the leader circle this money. They've not announced the driver. They said they're not 100% sure they're going to run 4 cars. Now, Honda said that they can try to do everything possible to accommodate all the entries, right? Which means they're not saying they absolutely have to drop a car. But I believe they prefer to stay at the 17 engine leases. So we'll just have to see how that overall impacts it.
Yeah.
Because I can't think of another Honda car that's going to come off the grid other than that Andretti entry there. So
yeah, probably because right now the coin cars, you're looking at them, they probably going to have 2 drivers with no problem, even though they lost Malukas and Stingray Rob is very TBD at this moment, even though they're saying that Grosjean could come back with Dale Coyne. And
yeah,
also,
that's the hot rumor that Grosjean's going back to Coyne.
The question would be, would he go to the A car or the Rick Ware car? That'd be the question.
He was with the Rick Ware car the first time, right? So might go right back with his buddy Rick. So, and then of course there's been a couple guys testing. They're testing the hybrid engines out there, but you get additional laps if you bring a rookie driver. You get additional test time. So, or a driver you're testing, not necessarily a rookie. So, Ed Carpenter's got Christian Rasmussen, who won the Indy NXT Championship, and Oliver Askew, who we haven't seen Oliver in a couple of years, huh?
Yeah, we haven't seen
on the track. Yeah,
bending it at Long Beach in the 45 car in the finale in 2021.
Yep. So he's gonna test those guys, and then Lewis Foster, who finished 4th in Indy NXT, won 2 races this year. He's tested. He already tested with the Andretti team, and they were super impressed by him. So I think maybe if Andretti does run that 4th entry, this guy maybe has the inside line on that. Or they might just keep him in there in the NXT car for another year. So,
yeah, there's just so much stuff going on. And I wanted to bring up like you mentioned about the hybrid testing. I think Will Power tested a few days ago.
Yep.
It's that people were talking about what's with the 22. Is Penske going to give up the 12? Because right now,
Penske always tests with the 22.
Yeah.
People act like it's their first time seeing Penske tests. They have the Penske livery. It's just a white and black livery that says Penske Racing on it.
Yep.
It's car number 22. They've done that for years.
Yeah,
Newgarden was testing number 22 last year. Yeah. Everybody wants to have their own conspiracy theory, though.
Yeah, because of the fact that Ganassi's car numbers are in numerical order now with Simpson on board. What number they're going to put? Can't have the 7. Can't have the 12. 21 is Ed Carpenter's. They're going to have to come up with something clever.
Yeah, he can have the 10 and a half, 10.5.
Let's see, the 44. That could be available. I don't know. It's
like they can throw 99 on there, right?
I don't think it'll go too well, even though Townsend Bell drove it since the post merger.
Yeah.
But I just love the fact because I was thinking, oh yeah, I remember Newgarden drove the 22, but I'm thinking, yeah, have fun Ganassi with the numerals, unless there's no. Quick question, is there a rule where you cannot have a double? No, there shouldn't be. We've seen the 07 car in IndyCar back in the day.
Well, you got the 06 right now with Elio.
Yeah. They could just put
Elio.
We could put an 08 or 09, then problem solved.
Well, you know what they could do? They could give Palou the 1.
Yeah. That would help, but Ganassi's been not keen about it since.
No, not since 2004.
Yeah, when Dixon went winless that year.
Yep.
And the only thing is that I have, and going back to the Simpson thing, is you're going to have 3 rookies and 2 established champions. And on my question, we talked about this every now and then. Having too many cars, will they do better with an additional car or not? Because Penske found out that 3 is better than 4.
Yes, and Chip's up to 5 now.
Yeah.
And Andretti found out a couple years ago that 5 was too many.
Yeah, and also it's just starting from, for whatever reason, I thought about 2001 when they tried to have a mostly young rookie dominant group without an established veteran. Because remember, they got rid of Vassar and Montoya went to Formula One after 2000. They put Junqueira and initially
Nick Ganassi,
and that didn't work out. And they put Gidley in the car.
That didn't work out either.
Yeah, and then they've added Dixon, but you also had a slew of drivers like Scheckter, Darren Manning, until they finally realized that maybe having that worked back then.
Brian Herta for a while. Herta was before Vassar, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Herta was before Vassar. They had a number of guys in the car over to you, but then they picked up guys like, Weldon and Franchitti
and that worked out well because they pretty much have like a super team where all of them could fairly do well. Sure, the 10 for a while up until Pelot kind of came along, and
but if you look at the history of the third Ganassi car, right? Mind you, don't even think about the fourth and the fifth, right? Generally the share of the wealth doesn't go much past the two cars, right? The 9 and the 10, right? You had now Ryan Briscoe had the third car for a while. I don't believe he won a race with Ganassi at all.
Neither did Graham Rahal or Charlie Kimball.
Charlie Kimball won one race.
Oh, yeah.
In 2013, and I'll hand it to Charlie. It was a brilliant drive that day. It was in Mid-Ohio, 2013. He did everything right, didn't put a wheel wrong all day. The sun was shining on Charlie Kimball that day, and I thought that was going to be, the start of a great career for him, and it wasn't.
Yeah, it didn't work out too well.
Yeah, you had Sage Caribs, Sebastian Saavedras, right? So, and none of these guys really made an impact. And I want to say this year is probably the only time you've had all three Ganassi cars win a race. Well, 2013, because, Dixon and Dario and Kimball all won races that year.
I'm trying to remember what race in 2013 he won.
Charlie Kimball?
No, Franchitti. Because I keep thinking
wasn't Houston.
Yeah, I keep thinking he went winless because that was before the career ender. It was a weird year for Dario.
He may have gone winless now that you mention it. So,
yeah.
Where's Richard? He always has like Wikipedia up on his screen.
Yeah, but
he's supposed to look stuff up for us.
Yeah, last couple of years, the three cars have shown up, and I think it goes to the testament of what Ericsson brought to the table and putting that third car into contention from time to time. Sure, it's nowhere near Dixon or Pelot, but never awfully far back.
No, but I mean, he's got 3 wins for Ganassi now?
Yeah,
four.
Yeah, because he won St. Pete, Indy, Nashville, and Detroit.
Detroit. Yep. So, all right. So, Pat Award earned his super license. He's going to test free practice 1 at the last weekend of the Formula One season. So that'll be a fun outing for him. So let's talk about NHRA in Maple Grove, which, Lee, as you projected, was rained out and ran Monday.
Yep.
So you Lee the weatherman.
I got 2 things right this week.
Lee the weatherman Vi. So we had a big day for Doug Kalitta, right?
Yeah, Doug Kalitta picked up his half-century mark. So he gets the half-century coin. He's won 50 races, which is impressive. I mean, that's hard to do. But good for him. So and this weekend, the leaderboard is shuffled from top to bottom. So Robert Height picked up a win this weekend. Matt Smith picked up a win in Pro Stock Motorcycle, and I can't remember who picked up in Pro Stock Cars this weekend. But big leaderboard changes across the thing.
I did see a stat that said every class had a new point, had a new points lead coming out of Maple. Yeah.
So that's that doesn't happen often either. The weather really threw a good wrench at everybody on Monday when they picked up the race, because Sunday was just so miserable. And then we turned around and we had a couple hundred miles south to Mr. Uden's backyard in Charlotte down there for stop number 2 on the playoff race at Charlotte. think it'll be another good race this weekend. No weather in store. I've been looking at the map all week. The weather looks like it's supposed to be pretty good. May get a little rain Sunday, but it doesn't look like it's going to be all that much. It looks like it's a little bit to the north of Charlotte, but yeah. So I'm looking forward to another good race. I think a lot of drivers that are in the chase have got a wake up call, because there's 4 guys that are sitting on top of the leaderboards right now that probably nobody expected to be up there, especially after Maple Grove.
Are the NHRA playoffs, are they elimination style like we have in NASCAR?
Yeah, except it's not 12 rounds, it's 10.
Okay.
So I think after Charlotte, they'll drop down to the top 8 in each round, do 2 more, drop down to this, top 6, top 4, and then so on from there. So it's over a 5-race period instead of the 12 races, or it's over 10 races. Sorry, unlike the 12 with NASCAR. So,
all right. And where do we hold the championship race?
Believe that's in Pomona, California. So
yeah, it makes sense because up until a year or 2 ago, it used to be the opener and finale, but now Gainesville has the opener.
Yep. And then the race will end Sunday, and I think Tuesday night is the awards banquet. And that's in Palm Desert, California. So yeah, it's Pomona. It's right around the corner from
Palm Desert, huh?
Yep. Palm Desert, Palm Springs.
Doesn't sound as appealing as like Palm Beach or Palm Springs. Palm Desert. It sounds
Palm
hot
Desert.
and dry.
They all are. I've been to Palm Springs. It's the middle of the desert. It's halfway between LA and Arizona. It's miserable.
Yeah, that's why when I was thinking how far is this, it's nowhere near LA and it's nowhere near San Diego. I may take a pass on thermal Palm Springs and all that.
It's hot.
And then the possible rumor that Sonoma could be in spring adds no favors to my California plans, but we'll talk about that in the 2024 podcast.
Yeah, Louise, you want to go to thermal?
I would, but the only thing is it's nowhere near LA or San Diego.
But I might be able to get you an invite.
Oh, yeah, that'd be appreciated. It's just mostly getting there. That's all. Or if
that's my problem, because I've got the invite.
You just don't got the means
from Don, but I mean, it's 3,000 miles away from me, so
it's only 6 from me. Then
keep that open if I do change my mind, as long as there's no Kraken games going around that time either.
All right,
because mind you, I initially I would be prepping for Dana Point for a festival, but thank goodness one act had a sudden show in LA a few months ago that I said I'll go with that instead of the festival in Dana Point, which is also right in the middle of nowhere from what I've gathered.
What's the best place to have a festival?
Burning Man.
I don't know. I've never gone to music festivals.
They thought of that Woodstock. We'll have it out in the in a cornfield, and nobody will show up. Just 500,000 people. So, all right. Well, that's our time, gentlemen. So I want to thank you, Louise. I want to thank you, Lee, Richard, wherever you're at. I want to thank you too. Thanks for not showing up tonight when we needed you to answer our Formula One questions. But we'll try to catch up with you next week. Hopefully, you can explain a little bit more of the Flexi-Floors and Wings. I want to thank Keith Hayes, our producer, and Sinister One Productions. I'd like to thank the Hoobazoo Radio Network. I'd like to thank the Ferrari movie, Forza Motorsport, Luis Torres, Multimedia, and the Alzheimer's Association. Also like to thank Facebook Live, YouTube, and Spotify. Most of all, I want to thank you folks that watch us week in and week out, and I will see you next week. Good night.
Thanks for watching Drafting the Circuits. Make sure to follow Drafting the Circuits on Facebook, Spotify, Twitter, and YouTube. Drafting the Circuits is a Sinister One production.